Something new has been added.
Yeah, somebody was napping and did not want me to come upstairs. I wonder who that is and why I look like such a complete mess. I can't imagine. Why do I look like a mess, Days? Why do I look like a mess? Do I look like a mess because I've been snuggling with you? Is that why? Yeah. I look like a mess because I've been snuggling with you. And you didn't want to get up so we could do our live. But I had to. We didn't want to miss all of our friends, did we, Days? No. We don't want to miss all of our friends. That's no fun. What are you doing? What are you doing? Say hi, everybody. Hello. Yeah. Hi, do you see yourself? You do, honey. I know. You see yourself. Hello. Hi, Ryan. Hello. Hi, Michael. Hi, Jerry. Hi, everybody. Oh, hi, Grandpa.
Hello.
Hi, Grandpa.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I know. There's 3 of you, Days. There's 3 of you on this screen. Yes. For those of you who may not have seen her before, just in case you're joining us, this little lady is my daughter. This is Daisy. She is almost a whole year old. At the end of this month, she's going to be a whole year old. And she is an absolute menace. And she owns the house. We just live here. Now it belongs to Daisy. It used to be the dogs. Now it's Daisy.
And now that she's
and
crawling,
the dogs.
she's crawling at like 100 miles an hour.
Fastest crawler in the West.
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, as I say, Mama, you can grab Christine.
I'll grab Christine.
Just do that. It's the easiest thing. Grandma is behind us and making sure that Daisy is all right and not losing her tiny Daisy mind. Because that happens on occasion. Yeah. 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 Say hi. Oh, Ken says he loves your grandpa smile. Yes.
Well,
It's a pretty good smile. Oh, do you want some milk? We got milk. Want milk? She says, why would I drink milk when all of these people want to talk to me? I know, Days. All right. What are your film questions for Daisy? Hi, Sarah Hull. Yeah. Look at that punim. It's a pretty good punim, isn't it? Daisy, what movies have we been watching? Can you tell people what we've been watching? Yeah.
Berlin Alexanderplatz, perhaps?
Oh, yeah. Well, what did we have on in your room this morning? Yes, Daisy is wearing daisies. What were we watching on TCM this morning?
It goes in one ear and
It's
out.
a Jimmy.
Oh, yes,
James
yes, yes.
Stewart.
On Our Merry Way.
There you go.
The
We
episodic
were enjoying
film.
that. Do you see your Aunt Christine? Okay, say bye-bye. Okay, Auntie Christine is here to swoop away the baby. So Daisy says bye, and she'll see you guys later. Here you go, Auntie Christine. Thank you. As I say, I look particularly awful because Daisy has been passed out on me for 2 hours, and we were just hoping that I'd be able to join. Daisy, what do you think about streaming at home versus the theater experience? Well, Ken, I'll tell you. Daisy likes to watch stuff at home, mostly because she's too little to be in a movie theater. I say that. She does like movie theaters, though. We've been into them with her.
She has.
But for the sake of other humans, I have not attempted to watch a movie with my child on my lap because that seems like a terrible thing to do.
I
have a bottle here, by the way. This is what it's like now, folks. This is life. I have a bottle here. She has a bottle. As I say, this is, when I describe my house as a circus now, I mean it very genuinely. We live in a circus. What did you think of the Warren Beatty movie, The Parallax View?
We watched it not long ago
Yeah.
on the Criterion
Yeah.
disc. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It holds up.
Oh no, Jonathan, she's old enough to see the big screen. She loves the big screen. She's a big fan. But what I don't want to do is bring a baby into a movie theater where she inevitably may cry, get
Except
upset.
if there's a crying room.
There you go. Thank you, Mom. It's a family affair trying to get ready for a baby to go anywhere, even if it's just upstairs. Leonard, what is the scariest movie that you have ever seen?
I think The Exorcist
Yeah,
is the
Holds
scariest
that for
movie I've
you?
ever seen. Yeah.
yeah.
And because it's deep down scary.
Mm,
It's not boo,
mhm.
and I'm a sucker for jump scares.
You are a sucker for jump scares.
I'm the world's easiest pushover.
It's it's pretty.
But
You leap. You leap easily.
when
Yes.
when that soundtrack begins with the tubular bells and all that, unease. It fosters a spirit of unease,
Yeah.
and I am uneasy.
And you are uneasy. I
the
get it.
next
I
2
totally
hours.
get it.
But I really dislike the new ending that Mr. Friedkin
Eh,
prefers.
we have a feeling collectively as a family unit where we don't understand. Like, I get the idea of someone recutting a film, but then what's the movie? To say that it's like, if you're going to recut it, then what about the other one? I think it's a tricky thing to say, well, actually, this is my version. But as we know, editing can change absolutely everything. So to say, all right, so the movie I saw before, whose was that? And
Yeah, it's like
it's tricky.
like handing in a nearly final draft.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then
Well, it happens to you where sometimes you will get asked to see a movie before it's finished.
and I always say
and you
only
say
if
no.
it's really locked.
Yeah, if it's locked, if it's just missing a bit of sound or color correction or something like that, that's one thing. But if it's not done being edited, then it's not done. And that's why people always say, have you seen so-and-so's version of this or so-and-so's version of that? And it's like, that is a whole other movie, like that's a whole other film if it's not the same.
When Mr. Coppola
Yeah.
reissued Apocalypse Now
Mhm.
and put back in a rather lengthy segment he had taken out, it weakened the film.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think it's now available in the original theatrical version.
Mhm.
For home,
It's tricky.
home viewing, but
It's real tricky.
it is very tricky.
Ken's asking if you've seen the Vincent Price House of Wax, because he just rewatched it. And have you seen it in 3D?
I have seen it in 3D, true 3D.
It was on TV the other
double
day.
system 3D, which is the way it was shown in 1953. That is to say, two projectors synchronized
Mhm.
with a left eye print and a right eye print.
Mhm.
And no digital presentation of 3D that I've seen can come up to that.
Mm. That's, again, it's tricky because if something is meant to be seen a certain way, this is also obviously a conversation people have had a lot when it comes to 3D and movies that are made 3D after the fact.
Yeah.
Well, are you just making it because we have moved past the everything is in 3D.
Right.
We all had that a few years ago where everything had to be 3D, even things that had no reason to be 3D. They made 3D because why not? And I'm quite pleased it's over now because it's just, no, you take away the fun. The whole idea. People laugh because we bring up one of the best 3D movies in recent years is Step Up 3D. Why? Because the director, John M. Chu, who is a massive Ginger Rogers
And Fred
and
Astaire.
Fred Astaire fan. So right there, he wins us over. He loves classic film, but he really loves classic musicals.
Yep.
And so he believes in shooting something head to toe, things like that. Well, when he did this movie in 3D, and it's not much of a movie. It's not like it's complex.
It's innocuous.
It's fun, but he did all the things that
He
you
had
want
fun
to
with
do.
3D. He had fun with
They
it.
blow bubbles to the screen.
Mhm.
They throw water at the screen. It's fun.
They splash water. Yeah.
It's fun. And so when someone says, well, what's one of the best things you've seen recently in 3D? The answer is Step Up 3D, which is several years ago now.
Yeah.
But it's because he had fun with it. That's the whole idea. I always think about seeing at Disneyland, Captain EO.
Oh yeah.
I loved going to Captain EO as a kid.
And Muppet Vision 3D.
Yes. Oh yeah. But I grew up with that.
Yeah.
I saw a little later. Captain EO I saw from the time I was very young, and I loved it. And when they brought it back, I got so excited because, and it, and it held up pretty well. Like all things considered, it held up pretty well. But it, things floating at you. Yes, Muppets was a blast. Even what they did for Bug's Life, where they did the 40, where something went under your seats and things like that. Yeah. It's supposed to be a good time, Like that's the whole. It's supposed to be a good time. Larry has a question for Daisy. Have you seen and what do you think of Sergei Einstein's amazing baby buggy sequence on the Odessa steps in the silent? I see where you're going with this, Larry. On the Odessa steps in the silent Russian classic Battleship Potemkin, 1925. Is it not the scariest scene in movies for those under 1 year of age?
I dare say that you've nailed it.
Yeah, that is definitely her feelings. She agrees with that. Daisy loves watching TV. She is definitely a Maltin. And if the TV is on, she is fixated. And it's really funny because like if we go to a bar, cafe, whatever, and we're having dinner and there's a TV on, she's like, yeah, we started early, didn't we? Hello, Caleb. Caleb says, good evening. Good evening to you. Captain EO is the godfather of theme park movie attractions. I mean, it's just such a... It was perfect for what it was, And as a kid, it was a blast. It was just so much fun to have.
Your mother and I were there on opening day.
Yeah,
somewhere I still have my ticket for opening day of Captain EO.
So good. And I love that they showed the behind the scenes stuff while you waited. You may not remember when you were in line, they'd show you all these videos of how they made stuff. And again, that was so neat. Oh, there you go. Hey, Trevor. Trevor says, my baby loves music documentaries and black and white samurai films. Well, but are we surprised by that? You know what I mean? I think Trenton has excellent taste. And I can only imagine when we get Trenton and Daisy together, the baby film conversation will be intense. It will be terribly intense. No, it is really interesting to watch. Well, to watch kids do anything. Because you're watching someone try to figure out life, but it's fascinates me because she gets into cartoons quite easily, anything animated, but actual humans on the screen, that doesn't hold her the same way. Animation speaks to her in a different way. And as I say, it's just interesting to watch that. Like it'll be cool to show her the stuff that you showed me, and yeah, I mean, I get a kick when she giggles watching, Looney Tunes or whatever it is, because I think that it's great. She should be giggling over that. Kid has good taste. She's in this house. One would hope.
Well, yes.
One would hope in this house of craziness that she would understand the good stuff. But man, oh man, does she have a favorite animated character yet? She does love Bluey. As most children do, and frankly, as we do. Yeah, we love Bluey.
We become Bluey fans. If you're not familiar with it, it's one of the.
It's a fantastic Australian show.
One of the headline attractions on Disney Junior.
Yes,
a channel that I was unfamiliar with.
I had never watched it in my life, and now it's all we have on. It's all we have on all the time, which is great because they still have the Fab Five on there, so she knows Mickey,
Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, and Pluto.
Well, Pluto, they don't really count Pluto.
No, that would make
which
6.
Is odd, but Pluto's there. Yeah, she loves all of that. Oh, that's so okay. So Robert said, "Did you see polyester in Odorama?" And Jonathan's asking what Odorama is. Odorama is exactly what it sounds like. Smell-o-vision.
Scratch and sniff card.
Smell-o-vision.
You got a scratch and sniff card, and there would be a sign or a signal on the screen.
Yep.
Now is the time to scratch the special souvenir piece of cardboard that you were given, and sometimes the odors would be foul.
Yes,
let's just put it that way.
I'm having it. It's really funny to start to become aware of all the kids stuff. Something like Bluey, where I have so many friends who, like, if you have a kid and you're watching Bluey, you fall in love with Bluey. I've had intense conversations with people about Bluey. She's got a wonderful, loving family. Thank you. I watched Bluey with my granddaughter Rosalind. She loved it, and me too. First of all, it's clever. It's very clever, and there are a lot of jokes that are definitely for the parents, but not at the expense of kids. It wasn't making fun. It doesn't make fun of the kids.
Yeah.
It's just really clever and well done and very funny and very Australian, the humor, very, very Aussie, which I love. So I tried to watch Blonde last night.
You deserve whatever you get.
No, I fast forwarded through it. That's how I did it. I was texting with Josh and I said, I've got Blonde on, and he said Godspeed, and I just fast forwarded through it, watched little bits and went meh, and then turned it off because it was terrible. I watched the first 10 minutes. I attempted to watch it like a person watches it, and then I went, this is just awful. This is awful, and there's no point. And the worst part to me is because it's not true, because it's not a real story. It's like,
they give themselves license.
Yeah, it's based on Joyce Carol Oates' book that she says is not the truth. It's just sort of her fiction of Marilyn.
Right.
So you're watching this miserable thing happen, knowing it's not real. So why are we watching this miserable thing happen? Like Marilyn's story is terrible on its own. You don't really need to add to it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big arguments I saw, and forgive me if this is a touchy subject, but in the film, you see her forced to have 2 abortions, and in real life that never happened. And it's, again, you sort of think, then why would you why would you put that in a movie? Like, it's a horrible thing. But that's the thing, Marilyn Monroe was abused in many ways that were real. Why do you have to make more up?
Yeah.
You don't have to add to them. Yeah. It's not difficult. Lynn, don't waste your time with Blonde. Honestly, there's no point. As I say, if it was a documentary, or if it was real and you're learning something, fair enough. But you're not. It's a term I don't often use, but torture porn. It really is. You're watching this woman just be beat to hell, and for no reason. It's not like it serves any purpose. Hocus Pocus 2. I have not watched Hocus Pocus 2, and I don't think you will watch Hocus Pocus 2 because I don't even know if you saw the first Hocus Pocus.
No, I didn't actually.
Yep. That's not for him.
That's a gap. It's a gap in my viewing.
Yeah. It's, and I don't know what you'd think of it now. You probably would like it. You'd have fun with the first Hocus Pocus.
I would hope so.
It's fun, but I don't know. It's one of those, you weren't there when Rachel was telling us this. Yesterday, a friend of ours came over, and she happens to be the daughter of John Landis and Deborah Nadoolman Landis. So she knows a bit about film. And she was telling me that her dad is huge in Italy. Her parents are in Italy right now. They were just at the Bologna Film Festival. Mm-hmm. But her dad is teaching there right now. And so they're still in Venice. And John is hugely famous in Italy. Why? Trading Places is one of the go-to Christmas movies.
Oh my.
So just as for a lot of people, it's Wizard of Oz, or something like you always watch Wizard of Oz on Christmas, which is true in the UK. They watch Trading Places. And this started when the movie came out. So since the 80s, people have watched Trading Places on Christmas every year in Italy.
They could do worse.
I know, but it was just so because not only does he get fans, then he gets people crying because he's attached to their Christmas memories. And she's talking about trying to walk with her mom and dad, and every 5 seconds getting stopped because people want to take a picture with John because he made their favorite Christmas movie. Isn't that wild? We were talking about, so my dad, when we go to Australia or when we go to Canada, my dad gets recognized like crazy. And it's because Entertainment Tonight was huge in both of those places. And so, whereas here,
it was the only show of its kind. What was it? When it started, it was the only show of its kind, period.
Yeah.
But certainly in the 80s, throughout the 80s, it was the only show of its kind being beamed or broadcast in those two countries down under.
Yeah.
And, people remember.
And
when Taika Waititi came to my class with the first Thor movie with Kevin Feige, loyal USC grad.
SC grad.
Taika said, I want to get a picture with you to show my mom.
Yeah. It happens all the time in New Zealand, Australia, Canada. It's nuts. They just because then you're not just recognized, but you're a part of something very specific. So I've told you the guys this before, but a friend of mine who's from Canada said that when she saw my dad at 8:00 at night, it meant she had to go to bed. So when she sees him, she thinks about being in the living room with her family, asking to stay up a little longer to watch some more TV, and then having to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And it's those weird little memories that stick.
My guest in class the other night, we showed we showed Amsterdam in class Thursday night, the night before it opened.
Yeah.
In theaters. And my guest was Jay Cassidy, who edited the film and who has edited a handful of David O. Russell's movies, as well as many others. He worked with Sean Penn on all of his films, Into the Wild,
that'll do,
The Crossing Guard, and all that. And he edited the most recent Star is Born.
Don't get me started on that film.
Don't
get me started on that film.
It's a long and very interesting list of movies he's worked on. But the first thing he said when we sat down, I said, "Thank you for coming tonight." He said, "Thank you for your book." He said, "I had that other book, Movies on TV, and it didn't tell me enough what I needed to know when your book came along." He's another person of a certain generation.
Yeah.
That
my friend Jordan in Manchester sent me a photo. He went into what year was it from too? He went into a thrift shop the other day and found your book. What year? Let's see. 2009. He found a 2009 movie guide in this place, which I just think was so funny. And then he found another one in a pub. He went into a pub. He sent me this photo.
It said a lot of Barbettes over the years.
Yeah, he went into he sent me this photo, and if you look at it, it's the drinks. They've all got drinks around it, and it's because they're going to play. They're going to play some trivia, and so his book is there. Just funny moments. And my friends love to send me pictures like that. They love if they find it at a yard sale or anything like that. They love to send me pictures, and it makes me laugh.
Amsterdam. While we're on that.
Yes,
subject.
We just put the review up. And I really like the header that you gave it. An almost good movie.
It's so close.
Yeah.
You can see where it might work, but it doesn't quite work. And that's too bad.
Yeah.
And it started because he and Christian Bale wanted to work together again.
Yeah.
They've done 2 movies, and one of them got Christian Bale his Oscar. And they want to do something. They want to collaborate again, and so they sat and started spitballing ideas, and did some writing. And Russell apparently made headway on several scripts that they then abandoned.
Yeah.
And before they hit on this idea.
Yeah.
And followed it through. And it's not about, when I say it's about a threesome, it's
not in an inappropriate sense.
Not in an inappropriate sense. It's about a true friendship that develops among 3 people, 2 of whom are dealing with injuries from the battlefield in World War I, and one of them is a nurse. Obviously, that's Margot Robbie, and she's very nurturing and very loving, and they have this idyllic sort of period together where they're just it's like a dream, or I call it a reverie. It's a dreamlike sequence where they're kind of not touching the ground, and it's a kind of devotion and friendship that you wish you had in your life. And movies can do that kind of thing. In a very special way, but it has to come to an end. You know that it's not going to last, and they know it's not going to last, and it's presented as a flashback from 1933, which is when the movie actually takes place during the Great Depression. And when it comes back to that,
then it's not so good anymore.
No, and it wants to be relevant. It wants to be almost prescient.
It's tough to be a lot of things at once, and a lot of movies try to do that.
Yeah. It's really too bad. And a killer cast.
Oh, ridiculous cast. You look at the cast and you think, who didn't they ask?
Yeah.
It's a bit like, to me, it's almost like if you're a British actor and you weren't in one of the Harry Potters, someone hates you. Like, how did you miss out and you're not at least someone on that? Yeah, it's just such a strange thing. It really is. Someone before was asking what your favorite Cary Grant movie is.
Oh, how do I pick one?
Second. It's Christopher saying, per the Blu-ray release of Arsenic and Old Lace this week on Criterion, do you have a favorite Cary Grant movie?
His Girl Friday.
There you go. It is it's one of my favorite movies. It is an absolutely fantastic film.
Great,
and
really great.
And I think it holds up really well. Have you seen the Korean film Decision to Leave? I just saw it and thought it was the best film I've seen this year. Funny, you should ask.
My wife and I saw it at Fantastic Fest in Austin, and frankly, it left us cold. We did
Beyond leaving you cold, though, you both came back and went, we don't know what we just saw, and we're very confused. And it was very funny.
Yes, but I'm not going to discuss that any further.
No, it was very funny, though.
And I know it's been,
it's out.
Praised.
I mean,
it's been praised and celebrated and won prizes and all that.
Yeah.
But sometimes film just doesn't work for you.
Yeah. Sometimes it just doesn't. Ryan's asking if we've been to the Wizarding World at Universal. We've been. I have been to the Wizarding World here at Universal in LA, but I've not been to Florida. You haven't been at all.
No.
When was the last time you even went to Universal, like the actual theme park?
Oh gosh.
Was I a child?
Yeah. Well, maybe not. Maybe an adolescent.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was an adolescent. Oh, I mean,
an older kid.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I can't pinpoint.
No, I mean, here's the thing about the one in LA. I guess the one in Florida is more impressive. The one here is very cool. But if you don't love Harry Potter, then there isn't much of a draw. And you like Harry Potter.
Sure.
And if we were up there, you would go look at it,
mm-hmm.
but you don't love it to the point where you want to go over to see it.
No.
What is very funny is if you're driving south on the 101 freeway, there are certain spots where you can see Universal Studios and you can see a minion that they have, this giant minion that looks out onto the freeway on purpose. But behind that, not on purpose, you can see part of Harry Potter World. And there's just something very funny to me, about being able to see either one, but also just seeing this minion and then Harry Potter right behind it. It's very funny. And it's funny when you drive and you see that. Those are the moments where you remember where you live.
Should I step into the Wayback Machine to when I first visited Universal City Studios?
By all means.
My first trip to California was the Cinecon.
Yeah.
And 1968, I think 68 or 69. And we took the tour.
Before Alice.
And before a lot of things. And Universal wasn't making movies then. They were in the television business. They were owned by MCA, which had been a talent agency. And they were doing TV. So they showed us the trailer had been Lana Turner's dressing room for her last movie, Madam X.
Mm-hmm.
Her last movie at the time, Madam X at Universal. And we saw the dock where the PT boat was moored for McHale's Navy.
Perfect.
And at the end of the tour, sitting in the cafe, ready to sign autographs or pose for pictures, was Al Lewis, aka Grandpa Munster.
That's awesome.
that was the Universal tour.
Man. I love that.
And I heard a great story. Richard Widmark, wonderful actor, made one of his last films, theatrical films, was a Western called, I think, Requiem for a Gunfighter. Lena Horne is his leading lady in it. Very striking, unusual. And they're about to shoot a scene, and the assistant director says, hold it. We got to wait for the tram to come through. And Widmark blows his top. What the hell are you talking about? We're making a movie here, And he insists on getting a phone. This is before cell phones. He insists on getting the phone, which in those days was attached to a desk.
Of course it
was. Like a lectern.
Yeah.
That they roll over to him, and he calls Lou Wasserman, the the great high potentate,
imagine.
the high potentate of MCA Universal.
Yeah.
And he says, Lou, what is this? What is this crap about having to pause or break in a movie to let a bunch of tourists come? Oh, okay. Uh-huh. Well, if that's the way it goes. Anyway, he was talked off that ledge and paused for the tram to go through.
So funny. It is. The Universal lots and their back lots especially are used constantly. And there's so much stuff that's shot there and it's big. It gets used all the time.
What used to be the Leave It to Beaver Street is now known as the Desperate Housewives Street.
Yeah.
Suburban, and
that gets used all of the time. But then also if you come around like where they were shooting that home and garden-y show that you were on a bunch, the Mark Steinis one.
Yeah.
That one had the tram go by. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
You'd be filming this show and it's just like it's a chat show and they do fun things, but the tram would go by and everybody would stop and just go as it went it went around, which is funny. I say it's just funny because it is an active set. You can actually visit, I know a lot of people know, but you can visit most of the lots. Most of the lots have tours. And so it is pretty funny to go to different ones and sometimes see people going by as you're walking to work or you're walking to get food or whatever it is and seeing people. You kind of, because you do forget because it is work.
Well,
Universal
had been so successful in launching this tour, which of course was originally launched by Uncle Carl Laemmle back in 1915. He had the idea of, hey, why don't we charge people, set up bleachers, and
how do we get their money?
And they can watch how movies are made. And it was the silent era, so noise didn't matter.
So interesting, isn't
and
it?
You could have several units shooting at once, and no problem, no interference. Anyway, when they actually revived the idea for real in the 1960s, the other studio said, hey, we should get in on that.
Yeah.
So I took the 20th Century Fox tour and the MGM studio tour. Now the MGM studio tour included their back lot, which is now a housing development called Raintree, after Raintree County. And all of the street names are, there's an Astaire Street that crosses a Rogers Street, and there's other references to films of the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Fox did a stunt show, a couple of guys did a high fall off a roof after doing a fight. And we got to visit the set of Peyton Place. That was a currently popular show. And I don't remember much else about the Fox tour, but the MGM tour was interesting because it was an active movie studio. And James Garner was shooting a film which eventually was titled Marlowe, after Philip Marlowe, the character he was playing, Raymond Chandler's detective. And we were shown to a hot set. And they explained what a hot set was. We went into the dining room and saw James Garner over there eating his lunch.
There is a man and he is eating and you get to watch. So funny.
And
so you could potentially live on the lot. I can't imagine what a house costs given it's California. It would be interesting. It would be interesting to see. No, it's wild. Some sets are hollow and there's absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Some are just stand-ups and you can go and they fall over. Some look incredible, but can't do anything. I mean, it's like the New York Street Paramount. Some of the doors open and some of the doors don't.
I watched them rebuild the Paramount New York Street.
Yeah.
Because at ET, we were on the second story of our building, the May West building. I insisted that they missed a sure bet by not saying on our business cards, come up and see us sometime.
I mean, you could have made that.
Yeah.
You could have put that on your business card.
Yes, I could.
You blame them, but you could have put that there.
Well, it's true.
I'm just saying.
They had a fire on the New York street.
Yeah.
And then they decided, well, let's rebuild part of it. And they built a set for a series that didn't last a year called The Bronx Zoo, about a high school in the Bronx. was it Ed Asner? Maybe it was Edward Asner on that show.
I think you told me that it.
But it was the pilot was going to be directed by my friend Alan Arkish, and
why not?
And he said, he okayed this. He said, make it an indoor-outdoor set, so that when you go in the front door, with the thumb latch kind of door handle, I can travel inside the high school.
Yeah.
Well, the production designer who worked on it went to a high school, must have taken hundreds of photographs, because even the little linoleum tiles on the floor were authentic. They looked absolutely right. And the curb, the sidewalk, had ruts in it and discoloration from dogs peeing on it. It was so real, phenomenal. Well, they did 6 episodes, and when it got picked up for a second 6, they built the other side of the street, the candy store, and, the newsstand.
Yeah.
And then they got so much business out of that. So many commercials shot there.
All the time.
That they hired Albert Brenner, one of the great production designers, to design a whole new nest of streets of various New York locales.
Yeah.
Greenwich Village.
I wonder what Fox looks like since they tore down their sort of New York street.
Yeah, they said they were going to rebuild.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I wonder what it looks like now. That was depressing, is to drive onto that lot and see them tearing it down.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the Disney lot, and that the Zorro set was still there when you first started going.
Yep, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah,
I did an interview with Fess Parker and Dorothy McGuire and Tommy Kirk for about Old Yeller in front of it was on the street they used for Something Wicked This Way Comes, the Ray Bradbury adaptation. But I don't know how long that had been standing. Stuff is all so interesting.
Yeah.
There's a new show on Hulu, Fox and Hulu, called Reboot, which takes place on the 20th Century Fox lot, and they walk all over places, streets that I go when I just go to screenings on the lot.
Fox is a big lot. Fox is a large lot and very easy to get turned around.
Originally called Movie Tone City.
It's a big one. That's one of the bigger ones. The Warner Brothers is very wide. There's so many. Yeah, there's a lot of them you can get lost in, which is funny. Ryan says, I absolutely loved your interview with Fess Parker on the Davy Crockett DVD. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Just to go back for a second, Kevin says, I first bought Leonard's Movie Guide in 1973 at age 11, and then purchased every subsequent release. It was my movie Bible, and I would mark every film I saw. So many people had that, and it's so interesting that this was common. Even something like calling it the Bible. So many people called it the Bible, and that was such as a kid, people would come up and say, oh my God, would you sign the book? It's my Bible. And I was going, I'm sorry, what? It's a bit confusing, but now understanding it, thinking it's very, very cool, because it is very cool.
It is.
Let me go through some more questions for you guys. 1 second.
I must add, not once in the 24 years I worked on that studio lot at Paramount, did I not get a kind of a boost.
Oh, it was a blast to run around. I mean, that's the thing.
Getting on that lot.
It was never a bad time. I think we talked about this a little bit, but Addams Family or Munsters, don't choose. They're two completely separate things. You can enjoy both. I wouldn't pick one. I love them both. I love the ridiculousness of both of them, and that they completely commit to their worlds. I love that. MPI is about to release on DVD a 1964 or 65 TV special of the Munsters at Marineland. And I will watch every
I couldn't make that
second of it. I will watch every single second of it. So Matt says Loretta Lynn's passing reminded me my coal miner's daughter is one of the few biopics that really worked, especially performances and production design depicting Appalachian life. Any entertainer you think might be worthwhile to showcase within biopic for sheer historical reasons? So many of them.
So many, but I wouldn't trust anybody to get it right.
Yeah.
Um,
There are a lot. I mean, that's the thing. There are so many interesting stories. And I know that's a very broad thing to say, but it's true.
Somebody recently pointed out to me that the Warner Brothers movie April Showers with Jack Carson and Ann Sothern is essentially the story of the three Keatons, that being Buster Keaton and his mom and dad, who had a very successful vaudeville act where they threw little Buster around, literally threw him around.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched it with that knowledge again, but I look forward to doing that. Another Warner Brothers movie called The Hard Way with Ida Lupino and Joan Leslie from 1943 is essentially the story of Ginger Rogers and her mother, her iron-willed mother, portrayed in the film as her sister. Ida Lupino is pushing her sister, Joan Leslie, into a show business career at any cost. And people thought it was sort of outrageous that they would do that with Ginger and her mother being so visible.
Yeah. It's there's a lot. It's just, there's so many interesting people. And again, I treat my dad as my own personal encyclopedia. And I ask all the time, I said, what's so-and-so's story? What's their story? Where are they from? Because some have very basic ones and some have incredibly complex ones. And I mean, even something like we've talked about, like Fatty Arbuckle and his wild story and everything that happened. Very much one of those things where people believed what was printed or really now just sort of believe the stories and don't even know what happened. This is someone who was so hugely famous,
incredibly popular.
And
he was loved.
Yeah.
He was beloved as a comedian, with a face that projected innocence, guilelessness,
and the way he was thrown out, the swiftness with which he was thrown out.
Yes. By an unforgiving industry that needed a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Which is what he was.
Which, as we know, is hardly the first or last time such a thing happens. But it is one of those things that I do find wild to think of, just how famous someone can be. In general, I find this really interesting.
Talk about cancel culture.
Whoa, Jesus, yeah. What's her name? Helen Slater is very, very close to Helen Hunt. They're very good friends. And she will post when she just went and saw Helen on stage, I think in England. I think she's in a play. And something that I think about is all these different actors, directors, whoever, there are points where some people are the most famous human on the planet, and then they're not. And I think that has got to be such a crazy thing. As I say, we've talked about it before, but I really do think it's just kind of mind-blowing that you can have that kind of power. When she and Paul Reiser were on TV together in Mad About You, I watched it with mommy religiously. It was one of the most popular shows on television. They made hand over fist ridiculous amounts of money. Paul Reiser then didn't do a whole lot after that. He's come back. One of the ways he's come back recently is that he's in Stranger Things. And so a few years ago, all of a sudden he's back doing that, which is like,
and then the Kaminsky method.
Yes. But it just, as I say, it's kind of mind blowing when you think about just how famous someone is at a given moment and what it must be like after the fact.
And he produced a Popeye.
Yeah.
An animated Popeye cartoon for television and did the voice.
Which, when I think Popeye, I immediately think Paul Reiser.
But I'm loving him on Reboot.
Yeah. But that's what I mean is where did he go for years? And then what? Al saying the Wild Party was the story of Fatty Arbuckle. Yeah, in part. But I mean, how many people really know Fatty Arbuckle's story, everything that happened? I would say
that's been on and off as a movie project.
Yeah, for forever.
For decades.
Forever. But even something like Marion Davies is a long list of people who I would love to see. Really, I'd prefer to watch documentaries. I always want documentaries because I don't want any fiction. I want to learn as much as possible without saying, oh, well, we added in this love interest. We added in this thing. I don't really care. I want to know exactly what happened because the truth is many times better than whatever you can come up with. But as I say, think about all the different actors, directors, whoever, who were hot to a degree that was just universal.
Yeah.
Absolutely everyone saw them. I mean, it's even interesting when you look at the Friends cast and think that the 3 women never stopped and the 3 men. I mean, now Matt LeBlanc works a lot. Mm-hmm. And his comeback in many ways was Episodes, mm-hmm. Which is a show I loved. But it's like, isn't that interesting that the 3 guys, and they've all had different issues. Obviously, Matthew Perry's had a lot of substance issues and they've worked. It's not like they haven't, but compared to the women haven't stopped.
No.
The women have not stopped. They say it's just it's a strange thing to live in it and to see people. And then, of course, to ask younger people about who do you know? Who do you recognize?
Paul Reiser does a quick, like a back page interview in the current issue of Weekly Variety.
Sure.
I just looked at this morning.
Sure.
And he says he can tell by the age of the fan about to approach him.
Of course.
Where they know him from.
Yeah. And that's true for a lot of people. You can kind of gauge it. I mean, it's for you. We know about what age someone is. If they're coming over and we go, okay, this one's going to be the Star Wars VHS. This one's going to be Little Rascals. This
right.
one's going to be Doug Loves Movies. This
yeah.
one, Yeah, there you go. So this person's saying Hilary Swank is another I'm shocked hasn't been getting film roles. Yeah, she's a talented Oscar winner. She is. And she's in this new show, Alaska Daily, is it called?
Which your mother watched and liked.
I watched the first episode. I liked it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's another one. She was so hot, and nominated multiple times for Oscars. And then what? So I say it's just one of those things. How do you Oh, interesting. The podcast, You Must Remember This, did episodes about Fatty Arbuckle. Karina Longworth it does so many interesting things.
She does a deep dive when she does her research.
And I really respect that. Mm-hmm. I respect how much she looks into it. Plus, I think that she looks into it I don't think she ever tries to be mean, which I appreciate. And I think she tries to look at the whole situation as opposed to just clickbait, and I appreciate that. I appreciate people who seem to actually care, because it's too easy to just pick on folks. You know what I mean? Where does Disney keep their physical film prints? Is there any evidence of them digitizing any of the titles that they refuse to release purely for history's sake? Some of the 100-year-old stuff must be in terrible condition now unless they've struck new prints.
Well, you don't have to strike a new print so long as you keep the negative in good shape and take care of that. The temperature, humidity.
Disney has for a very long time done an incredible job with their archive. So even if it's stuff you can't see, they have worked very hard to maintain their archives. And I would doubt that much is lost because, I mean, when did they start up?
They never owned. Dave did the paper archive.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, when did that? Because that's the 70s, isn't it?
Yeah, early around 1970.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of care. I don't know that much is lost.
It's the stuff that they can't account for are some of the early films that Walt made that he never owned the rights to. And then they did go on a massive worldwide hunt for the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit cartoons and pretty successfully.
Yeah.
And some of those.
Ryan is pointing out that Wednesday, October 12th, is the 1-year anniversary of the release of your book, Starstruck. So that's right. My baby is turning a year at the end of this month, and your baby is turning a year next week, or this week almost. Mazel tov to us both.
Yes.
That's very kind. And Ryan says he loved learning so many things about you and your career and contributions. I'm interested to know if you have any favorite memories writing this book. Well, he wrote it during COVID. So
that was my activity That was my reason to get out of bed in the morning, and go to my computer. And
my dad needs assignments. He's very much that kind of person. He needs to be given assignments.
Yep. And I had two. Mm-hmm. I was lucky. I had two. First was writing the text for the companion book to the animated feature Over the Moon.
That was on Netflix.
It was on Netflix, and it was made simultaneously in 3 studios, one in Shanghai, one in Vancouver, and one in Los Angeles. But then came COVID, and everybody had to work from home, but linked by sophisticated, hookups, and they managed to finish the film. And I liked the film. It was not wildly successful, but I liked it, and I enjoyed writing about it because I got to interview so many of the principals in all 3 of those cities, including Glenn Keane, who's
incredible.
Most of his career at Disney, a master animator. He just won the Academy Award a handful of years ago for a short called Dear Basketball, which he made with the late Kobe Bryant. And he has an Academy Award now to his credit.
Yeah, as he should.
As he should.
Leonard, I really enjoyed your article on Preston Sturgis and The Great Moment. Have you seen his last film, The French? They are a funny race.
The French, they are a funny race.
They are a funny race. It just showed up on YouTube in an 80-minute cut.
Well, I'm going to watch that thing because I've never seen it.
My dad was very proud of that Preston Sturgis article. He worked very, very hard on it.
And I got a lovely email from his son, Tom, which means the world to me. And that was a very interesting and enjoyable, not a task, but an assignment I gave myself, because it's about this man who made like 7 incredible, wonderful movies in a row. Bang, 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 early 1940s. And then made such a clinker, a dramatic film about the man who invented anesthesia, played by Joel McCrea, and a film called The Great Moment. And it just came out on Blu-ray from Kino Lorber. And the backstory of that is just endlessly fascinating. And that's what I wrote about. It's on my website, leonardmaltin.com.
You can sign up for the email blast, which will let you know anytime we post. My dad has a book piece going up tomorrow, 5 books that he's talking about. That'll be up tomorrow morning. But things like his Amsterdam review, you can get an email, and that way you don't have to keep looking and wondering when we post. Ken says, what is your book movie crazy about? With lots of exclamation marks and question marks. I have no idea.
It's a collection.
I'm kidding. You think I don't know what the book, really?
Duh.
I believe he was joking, and that's why he had all the question marks and the exclamation marks.
Would you like to see a fob?
Yeah.
This is a fob. I checked the dictionary this morning.
Yeah.
You all know what a watch fob is, a pocket watch fob. Charms such as these qualify, says the dictionary, as fobs because they're meant to be worn on a keychain. So I imagine this would get you admitted to any RKO movie or maybe any RKO theater at one time when there was still an RKO.
2 interesting questions that came up almost the same time. Jim is saying, I was thinking about last week when you said there are too many superhero movies. I count 7 this year. Do you consider it a genre? Thinking that's small compared to comedy, crime, and horror. Do you think that audiences in the 40s and 50s thought there were too many musicals and westerns? I guess it depends on audience interests and the quality of the films.
But there were more movies in those days as well.
Yeah.
Every studio put out 40 to 50 movies a year.
Isn't that insane to think about now?
Hundreds of movies every year.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't think you were drowning in westerns or musicals necessarily.
So someone might. And then what is your opinion on Lifetime and Hallmark movies? My mother-in-law watched them one after another and falls asleep during one and wakes up for the next and doesn't seem to bother her since they seem to all be the same. I watched one this morning, actually.
So that's the Warner Brothers side of the coin fob, but this is the better side. Vitaphone.
Vitaphone. I don't know that you've ever seen a Lifetime or a Hallmark movie.
I don't think I have.
No, not his thing. They do tend to be the same, but people love them. And
issued to.
Do you want help?
Ron something. There's the Honorable something Pepper. Martin Pepper.
Let's see if I can do any better. Issued to
H-O-N, the
Honorable George Wharton Pepper and guest.
Okay.
Expires December 31st, 1930. Well, I guess it's expired.
If you want to get into the theater to see Vitaphone, don't delay.
Yeah. I think that superhero at this point is a genre. I think it's safe to call that a genre, don't you?
Yeah.
I think it's definitely.
Now, what this key opened, goodness knows.
It'd be really funny if we went up right now and it just opened the front door, like the big gate. You have to drive through. Just go up and someone's watching you. Like, what? I just wanted to see if it still worked. What of it? I want to just share. Hocus Pocus has a special meaning for my wife and I because we watched it while on vacation on the Great Barrier Reef. Lucky you, on a small place called Heron Island. This is back in '97 and on my wife's birthday. See, that's what I mean. Movies, and we know this, can be so incredibly important to us depending on when you see them. How you saw them, and it can be terrible. That's the thing. A movie can be awful, but you can love it because of how you saw it, where you saw it, who you saw it with. That's one of the fun parts. Jesse, did you get to see the Nicolas Cage movie Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent? I haven't yet. I really want to. It's hard to watch movies with Daisy. She doesn't really let me watch them properly. But I would like to watch that. What are these guys?
These are bookmarks. These are, I guess it's a tin, huh?
I mean some form of very malleable metal. Eddie Cantor in Special Delivery, a Paramount picture, will rip the town open with laughter. Are you sure it's not meant to be a letter opener?
Yeah.
You just said it was a bookmark.
And letter opener.
Are you lying? Are you lying about what this is?
Well, for contrast, here is an actual bookmark which has a little.
Hang on, one at a time.
Okay.
One at a time. Let them see. It's tough because it's reflective, but it's in there. I'm sure I will enjoy it, Kevin. I'm sure I'll watch anything Nicolas Cage does. I've seen all of his terrible Netflix films. The man likes to work. This one says Paramount star Phoebe Daniels. Right. And then it has this really ornate sort of base to it. And
it has a sort of a hinge.
Yeah, to stick on.
You can use it as a bookmark.
Yeah.
But I grant you, this is a letter opener.
That is a letter opener, yes.
And this is not movie related, but
you just like it?
It's the New York Fair.
Of course. Oh, well, my dad, if you don't know, collects 1939 World's Fair memorabilia, and he has quite a lot of it, which is very useful if someone collects something specific, because my mom and I for years have been able to find stuff for him for birthdays, Hanukkah, whatever that comes up. Though now I will say, I think it's slowed to a stop. I think we've gotten you pretty much everything that can be found.
And what's more, there's no room in this house.
That's also true.
Yeah.
We have there's a ring toss. It's there was this incredible place called Off the Wall. Is where it moved still open? Is it still open on La Cienega?
I don't know.
It was there forever, and you could find the most ridiculous random stuff. And it was a blast. And my mom and I would just tell them my dad loves 1939 World's Fair stuff. So Mr. Maltin has better collectibles in the Academy Museum. Are you ready for a burn? That's not a surprise. Ooh, I'm kidding. They have great stuff, mostly. You know what it is? It just depends on what you like, right? I want to see classic stuff. I love when we get to see letters written back and forth. I love when we get to see telegrams. Mm-hmm. That for me That's fantastic. What did we see in El Paso before your eyes exploded?
Oh, that was a Demil exhibit. That was a very good exhibit.
So cool. Right before your eyes exploded.
Yeah.
My dad's eyes exploded, one and then the other. That was a lot of fun.
Detached retina.
Yeah. If your father comes up to you and says, ooh, you go, what? Something happened to my eye. I don't know what. And then later, hours later, says, there's this black stuff at the bottom of my eye. My mom and I are going, what? There's black stuff at the bottom of my eye. Emergency retina surgery. It was a fun time. The second one went months later. We were in the kitchen on Thanksgiving. My mom and I had just started to clean up after Thanksgiving because we always have big Thanksgiving here. And my dad comes in the kitchen and he goes, I think the other eye just went. My mom and I were like, just clean, will ya? Don't come around here with your, oh, my eye exploded for a second time. It did. It did, in fact, on that day. And I will leave you with my favorite thing my mother said to the surgeon who we found in El Paso, which is, my husband really needs his eyes for work. It was very funny. I said, Mom, I think everyone needs their eyes for work. But it was extra hilarious with my mother, like, no, you don't understand. He's a movie critic. He needs his eyes. Very funny.
But not at the time.
But not at the time. Looking back, hilarious. Now,
not so much. That trip to El Paso to go to the Classic Film Festival. That
exhibit, though, was fantastic.
That was a great exhibit.
That was so cool.
Mostly from the Paramount Archives.
Oh, my God. Looking at the back and forth. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Because, again, I know we've talked about that, but it's just everything's written, you know? And it's not like an email, you know, to a degree, I guess, but it's not, you know, having this whole thing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
When Warner Brothers opened their now shuttered Warner Brothers Museum
R.I.P.
on the lot,
yeah,
they had letters, John Wayne to Jack Warner, when he was on location shooting Hondo in 3D, and they were having nothing but problems with the cameras. And that cost them time, which meant money. They were going much slower than they wanted to be going. And it's John Wayne pleading his case, essentially, saying, you know, we're not lollygagging here.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to get.
I really hope it says lollygagging. I really hope that's what he wrote.
No.
John Wayne, we are not lollygagging. What happened to Popeye that used to be on the shelf? We move stuff around sometimes. We try to show off new toys. My dad every now and then remembers and he shoves something else up there. So if you have any requests, I'll see what we can find.
Next week, there'll be something different.
Ooh, a promise and a threat.
I'm making a commitment.
I will tell you, Alice, my mother, is having knee surgery on Tuesday. She should be fine. It should all be fine. But she's going to be in the hospital for a couple of days, but it'll all be fine. So that's the only reason we wouldn't be here Sunday, is if we are tending to Alice and dealing with Daisy and it's too much. But in theory, all should be fine and we should be able to join you safely. Yeah, wish us luck for Alice. There's going to be a robot operating on her knee because we're living in the future. Everyone, please be safe. And no, Popeye can't break. He's soft. That Popeye couldn't break. You could try, but it'd be difficult. Everybody take care. We will see you next week. Send questions if you have them. Be safe.
Be kind.
Bye.